Down here. I'm bookended right now by two gentlemen that are going to educate us a fair bit about charging. Lonnie, Russel is with us, Senior Sales Manager for Autel. Thanks very much for coming here.
Thank you.
And we've got Kevin Lisso, who's the CEO and co-founder of EnerSavings. And you've got one of your big, dramatic, impressive charging stations right there, like 20 feet away from us right now. Big white thing with a long black cord. That's what they look like.
And a big screen.
And a big screen. So this is, it's interesting, Lonnie. These are a lot of the conversations I'm sure consumers are having. They're going to have them with you. They're going to have them with dealers as well. When they go in, and we were talking to a couple dealers earlier in the first hour. And I think there's so many questions about the ability to charge, about the ability to, you know, depending on where they live, if they're out 20 minutes outside of a major city, or if they're right in the heart of a city like Toronto, they just want to make sure that when they go in the morning, they can unplug their car, and their car is going to take them where they want to go. That's the first thing on a consumer's mind, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is. As an EV owner and a plug-in hybrid owner, I can say the anxiety goes down quite a bit once you own the vehicle. And
yeah.
A lot of it is a non-issue. It's very easy. You get up, it's ready to go.
How's the technology developed in, let's say, even the last half decade?
Well, the technology's gotten you charge a lot faster. Your level 2 charger in your house is much faster than it used to be. I mean, you can get a 12 kilowatt charger manufactured by us, so by EnerSavings. That puts a lot of miles on your car, kilometers.
What are some of those sort of myths and concerns that you want to be quick to dispel, that I know dealers want to be quick to dispel as well? Some of them involve the length of your trip, or the climate, or being in big condominium buildings in big cities.
Yeah, you know, we're out trying to quell these myths and these fears, because people are concerned that they're, you know, we've heard it all, but I'm going to be driving on the highway and I run out of, you know, electricity instead of run out of gas. I'm going to run out of electricity. And what do I do? And am I going to be able to charge the car in a quick fashion, or am I going to have to sit in lines for hours upon hours to get my charge in my car? So listen, we look at it this way. We call it the work, rest, and the play. Everybody, when they go home at night, they plug their charger in for their car, their electronics. Same thing. You come home, you plug your charger in about 6 hours to 7 hours, you have a full charge of 400 to 500 kilometers. That'll take you to where you got to go during the week. Come back home at night, you plug it back in. We are dealing with a lot of businesses right now that are putting in chargers at the workplace. So, you know, you can charge at work, and then, you know, at play. So you're seeing shopping centers all over the place putting in chargers. You're seeing movie theaters, restaurants, everybody's doing it. So they're going to be there, work, rest, and play. And this is not, as Lonnie said, once you get a car and you understand how it charges, it's really not a concern at all.
Kevin's point about retail is probably a really important one, because that's almost the ideal length of time. If you're going shopping, or you're going to a movie, or even you're going to the community center or a gym for a workout, you know, you have it in your mind already that I'm going to be an hour and a half, or I'm going to be 3 hours, and it just that's often the exact time and the perfect length of time that it takes to restore the charge to fully get your vehicle back to 100%. Same as a phone.
Sure. Depends on how far you've driven, but 2 to 3 hour pop at level 2 is a good chunk of charge. If you're going further, then you would go with the level 3 to DC charge, if you're going for longer trips. But you're right, for right around town, a level 2 charger is fine for 2 to 3 hours a minute.
The challenges in a big city like in Toronto or New York or Chicago, they're probably pretty unique compared to sort of mid-range size cities like a London or a Kitchener. What's different in Toronto?
I think sometimes in the cities you have a lot of multifamily, a lot of condominiums, and sometimes smaller houses. So there is a concern out there about, do I have enough power in my house to charge the car and run my house? So we have technology called active load management that allows you to charge a car even if you have a 100 amp service.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so condominiums is a bit of a challenge. We've had many people come up to us here in the show and say, look, you know, I live in a condominium, but my condo board's not listening to us, the property managers are not reacting. I want a charger, what do I do? And it's a little bit more difficult because if you have 200 parking stalls and you've got to get power to each one of those, it's a design build, and then you have to take into consideration the capacity. If the condo was built 10, 15, 20 years ago, it doesn't have the capacity to charge 200 cars. So you've got to start dealing with energy management. What energy management does is it allows you to, it talks to your building. So when there's power available, it uses it. When it's not, it throttles down the chargers.
Okay.
And you can actually, if you plan it properly, you can actually do all 200 spots in your building without having to spend $500,000 on upgrading your infrastructure. With the technology that we have, we can actually, instead of having one charger on a 40 amp breaker or one circuit, we can put 2 chargers, 3 chargers, up to 4 chargers on one circuit if we manage the actual electricity. And that's the key, is having an energy management system in these buildings.
Conversations like this just, we talked at the start about the anxiety and the myths and the questions that are out there, and it just takes, sometimes we get an anecdote of, well, this person ran out, or this ran out on a highway, or this person couldn't start their car when it was minus 30. But these are really the exceptions rather than the rules, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of this is unwarranted fears. When you look at BC, for example, their adoption rate is 5 times what we are here in Ontario. They are just so much further ahead than we are.
Why have they taken to it? Way more in way higher volume.
Well, I've been saying it for a while. We're waiting for the Ontario government to step up here.
And incentivize purchasing them.
Because in BC, you've got a provincial rebate, you've got a federal rebate, and then you have actually the city of Vancouver donates $14,000 to every project as well. So when you can piggyback these, you can get 60-70% of the infrastructure costs, the charger, everything done and paid for. So it's allowed that industry to grow much quicker. We're waiting for that rebate to come out here. We've been told it's coming and still don't see anything yet. But I think that once that happens, it's going to really, that light switch is going to go on.
I think once they make that switch, it's rare that they go back. It's rare that they don't appreciate the differences.
That's exactly true. Driving an EV is an experience, and some dealerships have actually paid people to get behind the wheel of the car. And once they drive it, their closing rate was over 80%. The driving experience is that much better. It's just so quiet, easy, the torque is instantaneous. It doesn't change. I mean, obviously when it gets cold, the range can change, but the actual driving characteristics of an EV are the same no matter what. Yeah. It's not cold-natured like an internal combustion engine. You don't have little nuances you have to learn to live with. It's just a better driving experience.
You can charge your car for about $8 full charge versus $120, $130 for gas.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a huge component to this as well.
It's strange. A year ago at this time, the war in Ukraine starts in June. We're paying about $2.15 a liter, and then it feels like every conversation's about going electric. Gas comes down a little bit, and there's fewer conversations. But like you said, in the long term, you just draw. You get a yellow pad of paper out. You'll see the difference pretty quickly in terms of what you spend per year.
What's paramount to all of this is our planet. This is the number one source of GH emissions is gas-fired vehicles, and we have to get rid of this. And then this is why it's mandated by 2035 that you cannot buy or manufacture a gas vehicle and bring it into this country. And I think they're making the right move. We all know what's going on with climate change, and if we don't do something, we don't act now, we're all my daughter and my grandchildren are going to be in for some trouble. So that's one thing that's really paramount to this is climate change and carbon footprint reduction.
And I'd like to address one myth that we hear a lot about, and that's grid constraint. A lot of people are afraid that we'll overload the grid and it can't handle the electrification. Well, we're bringing out technology, Autel is, and some of it's already out there, where you can actually use the vehicle and feed the grid. So the utility can reach out to people that have signed on, and hundreds of thousands of electric cars will become multiple power plants. That will eliminate the need to add fossil fuel plants to the system, and it will make the grid more robust.
Wow, that's massive news. I learned a lot from talking to you guys. Thank you so much for coming by, and thanks for being part of such an amazing week ahead. I appreciate it.